Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the April Council meeting. The first item on the agenda is attendance to this meeting, and we have two apologies today, an apology from Councillor Julie Sladden and an apology from Councillor Joy Allen. Item number 2 of the minutes is the confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of March 2026, and the recommendation is that the minutes of the Council's ordinary meeting held on the 17th of March 2026, numbered 2638 to 2658, as provided to councillors, be received and confirmed as a true record of proceedings. And the agenda, the minute papers are from pages 8 to 81 of the council agenda. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Ireland. And a seconder, please. Councillor Lyons. Councillor Ireland, any issues in the minutes? Councillor Lyons? I'll then put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. There are no late items for today's meeting. And are there any declarations of interest in the matter of a councillor? There being none, we go to public input time, and the general rules for public question time and questions without notice are that 30 minutes maximum for public question time and public questions has been allocated. Any one speaker is allowed a maximum of 5 minutes to make a statement and or up to 3 questions. For clarity, a member of the public has a maximum of 5 minutes total, irrespective of making a statement, asking a question, or a combined thereof. A question will be answered if the information is known, otherwise it will be taken on notice and responded to in writing. If a member of the public hinders or disrupts a meeting, or tries to hinder or disrupt a meeting, or refuses to leave a closed meeting, or uses obscene or offensive language, the chairperson may take reasonable steps to remove the person from the ordinary or closed meeting, including requesting the assistance of the police if required. And you all look like a very orderly and law-abiding lot, so we're not going to have to do that today. So now we come to public question time, and we have 2 registrations wishing to speak. The first one is Cheryl Swan, I beg your pardon.
Good afternoon. Paper Beach has a set of swings with softfall under it. It's been there for many years. I know because with the help of some Rotarians and a couple of councillors, I helped it be established there. Anyway, I've noticed recently, in recent months, there has been no attention to the soft fall, which is down to the ground, which is against the regulation of how it's supposed to be for safety. There's little plaques on the bottom of a couple of the parts of the swings that say where the mulch is supposed to be up to, and it hasn't been attended to. So I'd like to see it attended to ASAP, especially the amount of use those swings get down there. Like there's people on there this morning. So, you know, especially school holidays, there's extras down there at the moment. So that would be really good if that could be attended to.
That will be. Thank you, Ms. Swan. The next speaker is Di Barr.
Thanks very much. Hi, everyone. My questions and comment first is just about the recent survey that was sent out to, I believe, property owners. Sorry. My comment is about the recent survey that was sent out to, I believe, property owners. I'd like to commend the council for actually doing a survey. I have been quite critical of the lack of effective consultation in the community for West Tamar Council, but I have a couple of questions. What expertise did the council seek when developing the survey? And is it true that it only went to property owners? And if that is the case, what was the logic behind disenfranchising 20% of the council residents who are renters?
Ms. Barr, we'll take the first question on notice and
Okay.
you responded to in the prescribed time period, and CEO Chrisman Desmond will answer your second question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barr. In relation to who the survey went to, Council wanted to ensure that the survey went to ratepayers because they are the people who obviously are contributing to the service that are out. If those ratepayers then, for example, rented properties, they were most welcome to pass that on to the renters, but the decision was made that given the ratepayers are exactly that, they're the ones who are paying the rates for the services, that they would be targeted in this particular survey.
Okay, thank you. You could argue that rent pays rates, but that's open to interpretation.
Thank you, Ms. Barr. There are no more questions from the public, so we go to item 5.2, which is public questions on notice from the public, and they can be found from pages 86 to 87 of the agenda, along with the replies. 5.3 is responses to questions from previous public question time, and there were none. So item number 6 is the Chief Executive Officer's declaration, and it's found on page 89 of the agenda. So now we go to the Planning Authority, and we have one item for consideration today. For those of you that haven't been here before, council is now sitting as a planning authority. Each council acts as a planning authority for their municipality. In this role, councillors consider development applications and make administrative decisions that are based on the council's planning scheme. While councillors are obliged to consider the community views, this does not mean that they vote in favour of those views while fulfilling the role of a planning authority. Councillors must make planning decisions based on whether a planning application is consistent with the local planning scheme, even if members of the community object to the planning proposal. And the first item, the one and only planning item, is Plan 1, PA 2026051 residential, a single dwelling at 5 Rochester Court, Riverside. And the purpose of this report is for council to consider a proposal for a residential single dwelling and associated outbuilding carport in the general residential zone at 5 Rochester Court, Riverside. And the recommendation sorry about that. The recommendation is that application PA 2026051 be determined as follows. The requested variations comply with the relevant performance criteria and to be supported. B, matters raised by the representative have been considered but do not alter the assessment against the scheme or the recommendation, and that the application for residential single dwelling by CKM Architects for land at 5 Rochester Court, Riverside, lot number 20 on plan number 182116 be approved, subject to the following conditions, which are found from page 97 to page 110 of the agenda. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Thank you. Councillor Manticas, and a seconder, please. Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Manticas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Acting as the planning authority, it's our role to assess this application strictly against the planning scheme. In this case, there's only a small number of discretions that are being sought, and they're very limited, I guess. So the supporting material includes a sun study. It also identifies that any impacts of that sun study are going to be minimal and compliant with the performance criteria of the planning scheme. Ultimately, the test that we've got to apply to this development is the same test that we apply to every other development, whether or not it's conforming or non-conforming against the performance criteria set out under the planning scheme. And in this particular instance, my view is that it does comply with the performance criteria. On that basis, I'm comfortable to support this as a compliant application, and I'll support the recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Councillor Manticas. Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, just to add that it's got a comprehensive report which we do need to consider the planning scheme. Of note is the closeness to the boundaries are actually retaining walls. The actual building itself is side setback is actually around 2.6 to 3.2. The height it's actually, we don't get many applications of this height actually, but so there's two places where I think it's protruding through the building envelope. However, that's been tested with its performance and is compliant, considering the contours and the shape of the block. So yeah, this plan is a significant home in Riverside and should be approved.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from councillors? There being none, Councillor Manticas, will you please close?
Nothing further.
Thank you. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 7-0. We now go to the Office of the Chief Executive Officer, and the purpose of this report is to provide a record of workshops held in accordance with the requirements of Regulation 10.3C of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations. Those minutes can be found from pages 111 to 114 of the agenda, and the recommendation is that Council receives the report on Council workshops held on the 17th of March, the 8th of April and the 14th of April 2026. A mover, please. Councillor Ferguson, and a seconder? Councillor Lyons. Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, it's really as read, Mayor. This is noting the topics discussed at workshop. So you're happy to accept it.
Thank you. Councillor Lyons, nothing further. Any other comments? Then I put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 7-0. CEO 2 is the Lagana Community Sports and Recreation Precinct, and the purpose of this report is to provide the Lagana Community Sports and Recreation Precinct Master Plan and initial staging recommendations to the Council for endorsement. And the very extensive report is from pages 115 to page 356. And from page 119, yes. Yes. And the recommendation is that Council rescinds the Sorry, have I skipped it?
119.
So it's just wait for itself as it need to.
Okay. Yeah, I've got it. Sorry, I skipped over my marker. And the recommendation is that Council endorses and adopts the Lagana Community Sports and Recreation Precinct Master Plan as presented and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to commence preparation of Stage 1 of the Master Plan commencing in 26-27 financial year. May I please have a mover? Councillor Lyons and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Shigo. Councillor Lyons.
I think this is a great opportunity for a developing suburb of Lagana, but also for the whole of the West Tamar. In terms of what's required for one to back up the oval, but two is to create recreational space. There is no full-size hall in Lagana, and it's really important that a hall is provided with. The potential of this in terms of various sporting but also social events is really not lost on us. We are obviously requesting state government support for and federal government support for this proposal. It's a grand proposal which will absolutely support the community. It gives the oval and change facilities, which are what we call the cricket club. It's really a social venue, but also various sports associated with the oval, and then gives 4 courts of for indoor hockey, basketball, netball, and what's that racquetball they're playing now?
Pickleball.
Pickleball. All of these sports will be able to be catered for in these venues. Obviously, council will be knocking on the state government's door, and its potential for the state government to be involved in such a magnificent proposal for the whole of the West Tamar, in fact, the whole of northern Tasmania. I've know a little bit about hockey, a very little bit, but they have no real indoor hockey venue, and this would be a great addition to the northern community and to northern sport in general. I absolutely support the recommendation and trust the state government will do likewise.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. Councillor Shigo.
Well, Madam Mayor, this is a great day for the West Tamar Council because this indicates our commitment to Lagana and its future and allows for a central recreation area which accompanies the school, so it actually complements the whole precinct. It has to be remembered that this motion is to scope out the project in this financial year to get to a position where potentially in the preceding year we'll be in a position to go ahead with it. But as Councillor Lyons said, we are really quite relying on the state government to come in and support what the federal government have given us to make this precinct what it should be. But the other part of this is the building of the cricket club rooms, because the building of the cricket club rooms is what we've been waiting for to be able to continue the Lagana Central Town Centre through extending to Tana Way to Fulton Street. So that's why I say it's a great day, because the Lagana Town Centre and Tatana Way have been waiting, but I don't know if people really understood why it hadn't been completed. And that's because we couldn't go through the cricket ground until we'd found the cricket club a new place to be. And that will occur in this financial year, allowing us then next year to look at proceeding with Lagana and really getting stuck into something that we've been talking about for probably 10 to 15 years. So it is a good day to see the green lights finally come on and we can move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Shigo. Councillor Lana.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My colleague, Councillor Sladden, and I attended an online professional development masterclass with the Local Government Association Women's grouping, and it was titled Focusing on Financials. They basically, the outcome of that was a warning to beware of bright and shiny objects like this 20 to 40 million project at Lagana proposed, and the need to improve our financial acumen, if you like. So considering things like liquidity ratios, we need to have enough working capital to meet our obligation and absorb shocks. And that is particularly important in these difficult economic times with the fuel crisis, which affects everything. And they also warned that to use asset sales as a solution is not a good idea. There was a big no there. Because the underlying issue of insufficient funds into the future is not allowed for, and you know what's the indexing for the future? How will the ongoing costs be paid for? There's a matter of depreciation and maintenance costs that hasn't been factored in. So it's a matter of the scope and the costings versus the risk appetite, not only of our community assets people in council, but really elected members are responsible for the oversight of public funds, which is ratepayer funds for our capital works and in-house operations. But this is relying on selling off the Innova Park asset sales. And currently, we can only see 2 to 3 million that's on the table. So I'm just to summarise, I'm wary of this big shiny object, and that we need to make the basics
Caroline,
sexy, such as footpaths and roads.
thank you, Councillor Lana. I am going to ask CEO Kristen Desmond just to correct some of the points that you've made. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In relation to sell-off of assets, a Nova Business Park is land. So these are land sales, not asset sales. So we're not physically selling off halls or other assets. This is land sales that were always going to be sold to fund something, and my understanding was that it was always going to go back into the Lagana community. So I think it's important to have that distinction between selling off council assets per se versus selling off land which council is developing specifically to sell off. So that was the purpose of that. In terms of financials, this council continues to budget and be very fiscally responsible. We have briefed council on how we would responsibly pay for this precinct, and that includes not doing a $40 million build and staging it out and scoping it where we need to. The business case sets out how we would in fact try and limit any cost overruns as we move forward. And we absolutely have taken into consideration the depreciation, the potential operating costs. In fact, there is some high-level modelling there, and over the next 6 to 12 months, should council approve the recommendations, we will continue to do that. So I think I want to be clear for councillors that we have looked at this very much from a financially sustainable point of view. And again, it's entirely up to council to make their decision, but I just wanted to point to the fact that we have looked at operational costs, we have looked at depreciation, we have looked at how we're going to fund it, and that's one of the fundamental reasons we are seeking matching funding from the state government to the funding that the federal government has already provided us, and why this will be staged over a number of years and not built all in one go.
Thank you, CEO. Are there any other speakers? Yeah, Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of questions, if I may. Does the current motion, by endorsing the master plan, commit West Tamar Council to spending more than $5 million from our intended purposes to receive the $5 million federal grant or federal election promise?
I hope I'll answer this in a way that answers your question. At the moment, the modelling that is there for stage 1 is on a 10 million to 10 million, so 50-50 basis. That being said, depending on how this is scoped out, so what we're asking to do for the financial year 26-27 in preparation is to do detailed design, and then council can, from that detailed design, have detailed relevant quality surveyor numbers, and so we can bring that back. At the moment, it is, as said, it would be $10 million of council money and $10 million of grant money. If we're not able to secure that grant money, then it needs to be scoped back. If, for example, council only wanted to, as we go through the QS, in the next 12 months, we wouldn't even be spending $5 million of council money to get this to this next stage. If you have a look at the staging of this, it included the club rooms, the courts, the full multipurpose courts, a market area, car parking, and a playground. So any of those areas can be scoped back depending on what the budgetary approvals from council are.
Thank you. And just a follow-up question on that. So, if you look at our decisions in forthcoming, this motion, because I do support the master plan, it still enables council to be very clear about its funding commitment. And my view is that there's definitely an intent of minimum 5, and we're looking for other state government monies to support, at the end of the day, 4 courts. But my question is, supporting this motion still allows good decision making to occur on our finances, which potentially may mean that we do only end up committing 5 million.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, excellent. So thank you very much. If I could just speak to it now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so this master plan is very, very good. It's had a lot of consultation, and it's had it's probably covered the greatest amount of sporting clubs and stakeholders that we've in recent times that we've had contact with. So I do support the master plan, and but I'm also pleased that it's not really locking us into funding and committing ratepayer money beyond the information we need to make those sound decisions. So I'm very comfortable to support it. And just the other comment is that the intent of the Innova business district, or the business park, the sales of that land was absolutely to activate Lagana. So that is in this. And so when we see the cricket club and the users of the Oval moved into that new facility, it is a green light for activating Lagana. So I can support the motion at hand on those points.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Ireland.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is a really exciting project which I fully support. It's going to provide facilities in the north, in the growing area of Lagana that we don't have at the moment, particularly basketball, netball, you know, indoor hockey. Indoor hockey is a big one, even pickleball, I believe. And the main thing is this is a staged development using funds that we either have or have access to from grants. There won't be any borrowing. Our liquidity ratios will actually improve as a result of this because our assets will increase. And it's a very, very good support, a good project which I fully support.
Thank you very much. Any other? Yes, Councillor Manticas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think around the table, it's one sentiment that seems to be resonating with all of us, is that we want to see this master plan activated and done to the best ability that we can. But I think what's also clear is that without a firm commitment coming on from the state government, that this project is at risk of being downsized significantly. I'm going to take this opportunity to thank the federal Labor government for committing $5 million to this project. And I really hope that the state government comes on board to see this project realise its maximum potential. As it stands, council, in my opinion, can't afford to dip into its own pockets any further in a financially responsible way without that commitment from the state government. And so while I'll be endorsing the master plan here today, I think for the record it needs to be very, very clear that without state government funding, there's a lot of paring down that's going to take shape here. And I'm absolutely bewildered that for the fastest growing suburb in all of Tasmania being Lagana, that we haven't had some meaningful commitment prior to this day today from the state Liberal government that's quite happy to spend another $20 million on the Northern Rec suburb for additional courts, but yet the fastest growing LGA in this state feels like we've been shortchanged. Now, what I can say is that this council has been financially responsible from the get-go on other assets. We have watched every dollar that we've spent. We have made targeted investments in other assets such as the Riverside swimming pool, which has ultimately saved us potentially $15 to $20 million from a replacement. We are financially responsible with our ratepayers' funds. And when it comes to seeing this project through, I will not commit any further funds without some form of meaningful commitment from the state government. And I'll be supporting the master plan today.
Thank you, Councillor Manticas. Before I ask Councillor Lyons to close, I just want to also support all of the statements that have been made in support of this project. The West Tamar Council, for as long as I've been on it, have been probably one of the most fiscally responsible councils in the state. And we don't lightheartedly look at projects that we are going to have to commit $10 million to without thoroughly examining the case and coming to a decision that's going to be beneficial to our municipality. We are in desperate need of those sports facilities. And as Councillor Manticas said, we are the fastest growing municipality in the state. And I'll just finish off by saying that when Council committed to build this precinct here, we were also ridiculed that we were going to, the council was going to be broke, that it would never work. But we were brave enough and ambitious enough to say that what we've researched and decided on will work. And I think this is a testament and also a reflection on what would happen at Lagana. So I will also be supporting that motion. So without further ado, Councillor Lyons, would you like to close?
I must admit that I am biased. I love sport and I love seeing our youth participating and joining in various sports or social events. I absolutely support what's been said about this precinct. I have to say that the Brisnorth Ladies Football Club train at the Lagana Oval, and where there's no change rooms at the moment. I know people have told me that Brisnorth, which is the only football club apart from Launceston, which is part of Launceston, of course, the NTFA, but Brisnorth, the only football club, and when I started playing, I think there were 7 clubs in the West Tamar, including Bridgenorth. They're the only one left. I'm told that they ran a particularly successful Auskick program, but again, no change rooms there. I see so many cricketers playing there and kids having a kick on that oval that it's absolutely vital that the cricket club, we call it cricket club, but it's really a facility for the whole community, is built. I absolutely agree with Councillor Manticas in terms of we will manage this situation well, as we have done in the past. I'm absolutely blown away by what we've got here at Windsor now, and another soccer field being built to state league standard with lights and above the tide, which will be fantastic for various soccer teams, but mainly Riverside Olympic. It's going to be an amazing facility. What Josh said about having state government support, we look forward to getting the state government on board. I'm sure they'll want to be a part of this development because it is fantastic for the community. and it is fantastic for the youth and the probably older ones playing pickleball who live in our community. We've got to provide great facilities because great facilities attract more people into the games. We can't have, um, as when I grew up, we could put a 6-inch nail on the wall and call it your locker. Those days are gone, much to my disappointment, of course. But it's fantastic that we've got the foresight and the ability and the control to be able to sort this facility out, and I look forward to it progressing.
Thank you. And before I put it to the vote, I agree totally with all of the councillors' comments, and also ask the government that they come to the party on this one, because without their support, it's going to set this project back. So now I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? In favour, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Manticas, Councillor Lyons, Councillor Shegog, Councillor Homdale and Councillor Ireland, and against Councillor Lana. So item number 9 is governance, and governance 1 is the new governance of special committees policy. And the purpose of this report is to rescind the existing WTHRM-50.00 functions and procedures of special committees policy and adopt a new governance of special committee policy. And the agenda item is from page 357 to 376, and the recommendation is that Council rescinds the existing WT-HRM-50.00 functions and procedures of special committees policy. 2, that it adopts the updated governance of special committees policy as presented, effective 21 April 2026, allocates a new policy number of 75.00, updates the version number to 1.00 and approves a review date of April 2030. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Councillor Manticas. A seconder, please. Councillor Shiga. Councillor Manticas.
Seems everyone's a bit timid around the table today.
They are,
okay.
Very.
Look, I'm happy to move this. What this does, it formalises arrangements that we have between council and special committees and other committees within the council, all operating under a single policy. So it's about ensuring that council is consistent in its approach and how it deals with committees and how they function and how they operate. Over the last few years, we do this all the time. We will review policies, we will look at whether or not we need new policies, and we will shape and amend policies so that they are fit for purpose for the current environment, so to speak. So there's a lot of work that's gone into this in making sure that we hopefully get the balance right between making sure that we set the right parameters around how our committees are to be run, and the conditions or the provisions in how those committees are established and what their purposes are and what their authority is, so to speak. So I'm quite happy to move this as it's presented and as it's recommended today.
Thank you, Councillor Manticas. Councillor Shiga.
Yeah, totally agree. I think this actually gives some surety to some committees. I think there was a concern that this may be overreaching and putting too much on our special committees, which, remembering, are sometimes volunteers. So it's very important that we look after our volunteers and encourage people rather than discourage. But I think this actually gives them some clear direction, and will be followed up with another policy in relation to roles and responsibilities of those people on particular committees. There's only one thing I may have to ask the Chief Executive, and I'm sorry I didn't do it earlier. And so this is on page number 8 of 9, which is 375, page 375, page 8 of the document. It says restrictions of the committee, and the committee does not have the power to make a rate. And the halls are required, for want of a better term, or asked to make rates or costs of hiring those particular premises?
Yeah, so, Mr. Deputy Mayor, in relation to that, the council, the special committees can recommend an amount. The only people who make the fees and charges are council.
Okay.
So they can, so the recommendations come from each of the hall committees as to what they think the appropriate price points are for the hall based on the work that they do. And that's then incorporated into the fees and charges that come before council for endorsement.
That's fine. That's understandable. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Lyons.
Uh, as most people know, I was a 38-year bureaucrat, so I hate bureaucracy. I've had my time, and a lot of organisations I'm involved with, the people operating it seem to think that process is an outcome, and it's not. I support this policy of getting a process in place. I absolutely agree with that. I just hope that it doesn't push our volunteers who might think this is intended to put more controls on them. I don't think it is, and I trust our council staff will work with the volunteers to continue to take pressure off rather than put pressure on. I hope and trust that this will be a process that gives a bit of guidance but doesn't put undue pressure on our volunteers, because volunteers are the heart of our community in Australia, and we should continue to support them.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, I'm going to support this. We know that the council officers have put a lot of effort into this. It is contemporary and it addresses a number of risks that have been held for some time. My concern is that though in how our halls are operated by volunteers, this may impact that. So I can understand the governance and the definitions, but I would just caution our council that how we operate with volunteers in our halls is now probably a higher risk. But I'm confident we are aware of it, and I'd like to see just the officers keeping an eye on that, and as I will as a member of one of them, because I can see another piece of work coming out of this where I would suggest that council needs to take more of a role in in the operations in terms of things that can be automated and processes that can be made easy. Now, I think if we work in that space a bit, then accepting the procedures and the way meetings should be carried out will be more easily accepted. But thank you for the work on the document to our corporate.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Any other comments? There being none, before I ask Councillor Maticas to close, I think all the councillors around the table will agree that without the fabulous volunteers that we have in our community, and especially in the smaller outlying towns where these committees and the halls are actually the centre of life, I think that this new policy, with the guidance of council officers, I think will serve those committees very well. So without further ado, Councillor Maticas, you please close.
Nothing further, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Item 9.2 is draft terms of reference, Delegations Review Committee, and the purpose of this report is to provide draft terms of reference for a new special committee of council under Section 24 of the Local Government Act 1993 for adoption by council. And the item is found on pages 337 to 382 of the agenda, and I beg your pardon, 378 of the agenda, and then the other report follows. And the recommendation is that Council, pursuant to Section 24 of the Local Government Act 1993, adopts the terms of reference for the West Tamar Council Delegations Review Committee as presented, effective 21 April 2026 allocates new terms of reference number 2.00, updates the version number to 1.00, and approves a review date of April 2028. And for those interested, the remainder of the reports are actually found from page 379 to 382. Will somebody please move the recommendation? Councillor Ireland, thank you. A seconder. Councillor Lana, Councillor Ireland.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Most of the authorisations within council are by law usually vested in either the council, the mayor, or the CEO. But obviously, for practical reasons, a lot of these need to be delegated down, and so there's a whole list of who can do what with financial constraints on a lot of them, and it's a list and a document that needs to be periodically reviewed to ensure it's practical and the right people have the right controls. It's not an onerous committee. It's only going to meet between 2 and 6 times a year, but it's an important thing to ensure that our delegations are up to date. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lana.
Thank you. Yes, this is an important review committee, which doesn't have decision-making powers, but it can recommend. So I think 3 councillors recommend to council that certain delegations be made, and it improves governance and transparency and oversight. So I'll certainly be supporting it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lana. Any other comments? There being none, I'll ask Councillor Ireland to close. Nothing further? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Governance item 3 is the audit panel chairperson, and the purpose of this report is that council seeks approval to delegate authority for the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate the reappointment of Mr. Andrew Gray as chairperson of the West Tamar Council's audit panel for a further 1 year. The report is found from pages 383 to 385, and the recommendation is that Council delegates authority to the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate and approve the reappointment of Andrew Gray as chairperson of the West Tamar Council's audit panel for a further 1 year from 1 December 2026. Somebody please move. Councillor Manticas. A seconder, please. I think Councillor Ireland beat Councillor Lana. Councillor Manticas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And as a member of Audit Panel, I work quite closely with our Independent Chair, Andrew. This recommendation is before Council for really one reason and one reason only. His current term is due to expire at a similar timing of the new council being formed after these elections. And I think it's only practical that we extend his position for a year, so it gives continuity in the independent chair, especially if there's new faces appearing from November onwards within this council, and to provide some form of leadership capacity or guidance for audit panel activities, especially if there's going to be new members of that committee as well. So this is about making sure that his term or any other term of any other independent chair, should there be different independent chairs in the future, are always out of sync with elections, so that we can ensure that this council continues to have the right level of oversights at the right time by an independent chair that acts and works in the best interests of this council. Speaking personally to Mr. Gray, he is very thorough. He puts reviews and looks at all the policies of council, how we're working towards those policies, meeting our obligations. He is extremely thorough. He's a magnificent chair, and would be lucky to have him for another year. And so hopefully, if you enter into negotiations with Mr. Gray, that he's open to accepting. But from a practicality point of view, it makes absolute sense to extend it for another year, just so that we can try and avoid multiple things happening at once, or multiple changes of people or committee compositions as well. So,
thank you. Councillor, who seconded? Councillor Ireland. I beg your pardon.
that's all right.
I'll take it.
Write it down.
Um,
Mr. Ireland.
Yes, I think Councillor Manicas has said it all. I've worked with Mr. Gray, and he's extremely thorough, and it makes very good sense to have a continuity, so he's around when there's a change of people. So fully support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ireland. Any other comments? Councillor Lyons.
Just like to
Microphone.
Sorry, no. I've got my secretary to do that. I'd just like to thank Andrew for the educational um, talks tutorial he's provided to councillors, and I think he did that in a very common sense, easy to follow manner, and I think it's all been said, but he seemed to me to be an ideal person, and keeping him going till the end of 26 is a really good idea. From the end of 26, I mean.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I don't think it's easy to follow.
Councillor Manicas, will you close, please?
Just to say that for those that might not be aware of what audit panel has to go through, sometimes our agendas can be over 1,000 pages long. And Andy reads each and every page and makes sure that he provides sound recommendations and advice to the audit panel for consideration. Thankfully, we've had a couple of other councillors choose to come and engage in that process, and hopefully that's been highly educational. And the Mayor, you visit almost every audit panel. I don't think you've missed one. It's a really riveting reading. If anyone's interested, I'll share you the copy of the agendas. So,
I before I put it to the vote, I can only agree that as a council, we're extremely fortunate to have Andrew as the chairman of our audit panel. He certainly ensures that this council performs to the highest standards, and he does a great job. So now I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. 9.4 is West Tamar Council Audit Panel Minutes, and the purpose of this report is to provide Council with copies of the confirmed audit panel minutes from the meeting dated 8 December 2025 and the unconfirmed audit panel minutes from the meeting dated 24 March 2026 in accordance with the West Tamar Council Audit Panel Charter. The item is from pages 386 to 393 of the agenda, and the recommendation is the Council receives and notes the confirmed minutes of the audit panel meeting held on the 8th of December 2025 and the unconfirmed minutes of the audit panel meeting held on the 24th of March 2026. Will somebody please move that?
I'm not sure I'm out of turn. Just to identify that I attended the 24th of March audit panel, and I wasn't in the minutes, so just the accuracy of that.
Thank you. The minutes will be amended accordingly. Thank you. So now, do I have Councillor Maticas and a seconder, please? Councillor Lyons, Councillor Maticas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and duly noted that the next time audit panel meets, before it confirms the last set of minutes in March, they will be corrected at the audit panel meeting of that day to reflect that you were present. Yes. As people will see, the topics and the discussions that audit panel have are quite extensive, and whilst the information that's captured in the minutes can sometimes be minimal, we wouldn't have 700 pages worth of writing to present to people. So it's just a bit of an overview of what the audit panel has been up to. The minutes are accurate, with the exception of one amendment, which will be made shortly. So I commend them to the floor of council to receive.
Thank you. Councillor Lyons. No comments? Any further comments? Anything to add to closing, Councillor Maticas?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. We come to the section with regards to development, item 10, and item 10.1 is a submission to the Cat Management in Tasmania discussion paper. The item is found from pages 394 to 401 of the agenda. And the recommendation is that Council endorse the submission included as Attachment 1, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign the submission and submit to the Department of Natural Resources and Environment Tasmania. May I please have a mover for that? Councillor Lana, and a seconder, please. Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Lana.
Thank you. No, this is an important discussion paper just from the state government, I believe. Yep. No, Department of Natural Resources and Environment. Cat management is certainly needed with our plentiful wildlife, and we have dogs registered. We have dogs under control of their owners, and while cats can be, they walk by themselves more than dogs do, there's certainly a need for overview. So we're talking registration requirements for cats, measures to better manage sale and breeding of cats, consideration of cat containment measures on owners' properties, controls around feeding of stray cats, management of feral cats, and just this matter of responsible cat ownership, so that they don't get out of hand in pest proportions. Cats are very precious pets, and there are cat people and dog people, but they do need to be kept in check, as I understand it.
Thank you, Councillor Lana. Seconder was Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, our planning team has discussed this with the elected members about what our response would be to a set range of questions, and but basically we discussed and highlighted the difference between registration and microchipping, whereas microchipping is a lot easier to identify the cat, whereas registration is another avenue which effectively means, well, who is going to do what in the event that how to register a cat, who's going to act on what requirements might be needed in terms of if it's strayed or lost, etc. So I think it's a very good, fair response from council, because it does highlight the need for all stakeholders to do more and not just lumping this on local government. It does also highlight the fact that we do support registration, and the fact that cat owners must be responsible for their pets, as are dog owners. And it doesn't actually go into the other activities that this council has been involved in addressing feral cats. We have supported other initiatives because stray cats damage the environment. There are some real issues for our rural communities and our suburbs as well. I'm aware of reports of feral cats in our urban locations that people are very unhappy about it, and it needs local government and state government to work together to improve it. But today it's about our response to those questions, and so I do support them, and I think we need to keep abreast of this issue.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Manticas.
Look, just briefly, I think our submission's extremely soft. I think, the amount of people that I'll talk to that are landowners that have feral cats or cats wandering onto their property causing absolute devastation is just rising and rising as each year goes on. And what this, I think, discussion paper fails to identify or address is that those property owners that are constantly having feral cats or domesticated cats enter their property and cause destruction to the wildlife have very limited options when it comes to dealing with those animals. And I'd like to see a stronger emphasis placed on the cat owner. 90% of cat owners, I'd say, are very responsible. You've either got indoor cats or they've got outdoor runs. But there are some cat owners that I speak to that say, I let my cat out, but it comes back, it does no harm. Well, bull dust. property owners should be able to euthanise cats on the spot for feral cats or domesticated cats that are found on their property. They shouldn't have to go trying to capture that cat, seeing if it's microchipped, putting it into a cat management facility that might already be at capacity, calling upon the council's resources with a ranger. This doesn't go far enough. This addresses the soft edges, but if we want to get real about dealing with a feral cat problem or a domesticated cat problem in this state, we must empower landowners to allow them to humanely destroy cats that are found on their property. I don't want to see any more destruction to our native wildlife than what we have to see. So I think it just doesn't go far enough. It's too soft. There needs to be stronger penalties. There needs to be more empowerment of individual landowners, etc., etc. I'll support the submission. It's nice and rosy. Whether it makes any real difference, I've got no idea. But yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Maticas. Any other comments?
Oh.
Councillor Sheetal.
Well, didn't quite see that coming, Councillor Manicus. But in some forms, I do agree. Dog owners, if dogs, and I have shot a dog attacking my sheep when I had a farm, and that is within the law, and cats seem to get excluded from that process, although I haven't seen a cat chase a sheep, but that's beside the point. But there are other animals that cats do disturb and concern. So that is an option. And I think maybe it was a little bit soft. Maybe the report was written by a cat owner. Maybe. I'm not sure. That's tongue in cheek. But no, I agree with you. There should be more discussion on what your points were discussed. It does open a can of worms. All I'm concerned about is the proposed potential ongoing cost to councils. There's actually a state government responsibility. They've been kicking the can down the road for years and have still come to no real conclusion. And, taking the action of what Councillor Manicus has just suggested would have been a strong suggestion, but they haven't done that. And it's also important to note that we support Landcare of $5,000 each year to catch feral cats down in the Greens Beach area, the national park area, and are doing a fantastic job. But it's scary from when they report to us the number of feral cats that they actually catch down in that area, which is a small area of our municipality. If you populate that number throughout, it's actually quite a horrifying number. And it's about time the state government actually took some affirmative action, and maybe to the point of what Councillor Manicus has brought to us. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I would like to also comment that the program that we run or that we support through West Tamar Landcare of capturing cats, feral cats in the northern part of our municipality, it's frightening how many domesticated cats who are chipped also get caught in that process. And the owners are notified that they come and collect their cats or they go to the cat's home at Lagana. I don't think this is strong enough. I think the only way you're going to deal with cats, you've got to register them, you've got to contain them, you have to desex them, and you have to chip them. And the other point that I think adds to the problem of cats in Tasmania is that breeders can indiscriminately have as many litters as they like throughout the year, and they dump their cats into pet shops where when they're little they're cuddly and they're cute and they're bought and then they're discarded. I think that is a major problem of the cat problem we have here. And Councillor Manticas hasn't even touched on the millions and millions of native animals that get destroyed by feral cats. When I lived further down the river a couple of years ago, one of the neighbours in our neighbourhood put out 30 possum traps in one night along the river's edge, and she caught 27 feral cats. So that will give you an idea of the problem that the government continues to cost shift onto councils. Without further ado, I will now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Oh, I beg your pardon. Yes, a closer, please. Caroline Lunner.
Yes, the submission closes with this issue of it's really a state matter that should be managed by the state instead of the cost shifting to councils, including a state-run CAT management facility. And this issue of the microchipping is really an important thing that should be part of the registration process. So, so that owners can be contacted when their cat is caught where it shouldn't be, but that the state runs the facilities that manage the outbreak of the cat population. So I'm certainly in support of this one.
Thank you very much. I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. The next item is development. Oh, we've just done that one. I beg your pardon. The next item is development 2, submission to a position paper that prevents delaying in development assessment timeframes. And the State Planning Office has released a position paper titled Preventing Delays in Development Assessment Timeframes. Written submissions are invited until the 8th of May 2026. And the purpose of this paper is to investigate ways to improve the planning system by reducing unnecessary delays and decisions on development applications. And the item is found from page 402 to 406 of the agenda. And the recommendation is that Council endorse the submission about the preventing delays in development assessment timeframes position paper included as attachment 1, and that Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign the submission and submit to the State Planning Office. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Councillor Lyons. And you're seconding it, Councillor Shiga? Thank you. Councillor Lyons.
Yeah, you go.
All right, so thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is a great.
Sorry,
Oh,
who moved?
well, I think I did too.
You did,
Yeah.
and you're the seconder.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great opportunity to respond to the government, preventing delays in development assessment timeframes. I feel that our council does a fantastic job in this field regardless, so this might be a bit of a slap to some of the other councils around the state that may have been dragging their feet. But I do actually take note that the recommendation from our planning office is actually assisting the applicant and educating the applicants in relation to planning applications, because that may well be some of the delay that's actually before it comes to council. So it's not so much a council delay, but more so getting it right before the council planning officers can take off with the application and make an assessment. So, and that's well described in this reply to the planning officer. So, a great document. Happy to support.
Thank you. Councillor Lyons.
I'm happy to support, and as we're in another process of asking the government for support, I won't actually go as deep as I'd like to, but I could say that there have been a number of projects which have been delayed by lack of decision by the state government, that this particular request for these answers don't really help. I asked the state government to make sure its house is in order, as well as support the Lagana project.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. Are there any other comments? Councillor Manticas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And, I've got to sit back and wonder why the government wants to see reform in this space to speed up development approvals. And you only have to look at their track record, that if they don't get what they want to speed up approvals, which make it difficult for councils to administer their estate-based planning system. Whilst we can provide operational feedback by way of submission to contribute to what they're looking to achieve, one's got to also ask the question is that why are councils still dealing with planning matters? I think a far more efficient way would be having all planning matters dealt with by a state tribunal. Offices located in the north, offices located in the south. maybe in the central, who knows? It's a bit of no man's land. But the principle being that, we've got a statewide planning system. So why shouldn't we have a statewide planning office that assesses applications? I don't know why we are still so cumbersome involved in that process. Half the time it comes before our desk, we have to wear a different hat. We can't take into consideration a lot of the views of the community. It should just be, here's the state planning policies, you've made an application, and it should just be dealt with at a separate purpose-built facility just to do with planning applications. But that's just my view. So yet again, a little bit soft, but happy to contribute. But I don't know if speeding up developments will make any difference. I think it'll lead to not improved outcomes for the community. But I think that if they are genuine about reform, they should be looking at the whole structure as to how the planning system is administered in the state, not just about how to speed up approvals.
Can't say I agree with you about one place doing all the development applications, but we choose to differ. Are there any other comments, please? Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, no, to be fair, I think this is actually good. You look at how we get to someone deciding they're going to do something with their land to breaking ground. There's so many processes involved. Now, come on, they're honing in on one area, and we are a good council in terms of our timeframes. But as you mentioned, Councillor Sheagog, that there may be other councils that are slower or not as effective. This is saying you want to get this through quicker. Work with your local council early and pay your fee. I do not support outsourcing our planning to another professional body. The elected members, it's a part of our job to put on that other hat, and we're the interface for making sure the layperson's had a look at these developments. And so I do commend what we've put forward to them. It's in that part of the cycle for getting a building built. We're looking at how can we improve it. And so, yeah, it's getting the payment for the fee, starting the timeline right on the payment of fee. It's engaging the council early. It's not having to advertise in the newspaper. It's considering how else do we get that information to community. So, yeah, I do commend it, and let's hope that planning stays in local government.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Any other comments? Councillor Lana.
I tend to agree with Councillor Ferguson in that we can have our local people who might be objectors to a certain planning project, but they're able to come face to face and put their point of view across in this forum where we are representing them, even with our planning hat on, which...
Excuse me a moment. Ms. Swan, if you interrupt one more time, I'm going to ask you to leave. Thank you.
But the issue is that there are different hats that councillors wear, and we have to observe the planning rules when we have our planning authority hat on. But people are able to come along, and that's a good thing.
Thank you, Councillor Lana. Any other comments? I think no more. Councillor Sheagog.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been a nice little discussion, and I agree with Councillor Ferguson and others. I don't agree with Councillor Manicus. I think that it would be a terrible day if we had people from Hobart and other areas deciding what our municipality was going to look like. Imagine the timelines and imagine what our municipality could potentially look like if we let that occur. So I am more than happy to have another hat and to have some say in how our municipality looks. I think it's a very important part of the process. So anyhow, that will be...
So I take it the vote will be 6-1? All those in favour? 7-0. Development number 3, submission to discussion paper to the Tasmanian Planning Scheme, making it easier to develop medium density housing. And the State Planning Office has released a suite of documents for targeted consultation that propose changes to the Tasmanian Planning Scheme to make it easier to develop medium density housing in Tasmania. Written submissions are invited until Friday, the 8th of May 26, and the suite of documents include a discussion paper with consultation, a draft new apartment code, a draft new residential zone, a revised inner residential zone, a revised general residential zone, consequential changes to the state planning provisions definitions, parking and sustainable transport code, miscellaneous exceptions, application requirements and incorporated documents, and the full report can be found from page 407 to 421. And the recommendation is that Council endorses the submission on the suite of documents referred to as the Tasmanian Planning Scheme, making it easier to develop medium density housing, included as attachment 1, and point 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign submission and submit to the State Planning Office. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Matikas. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Matikas.
Well, it's nice that they're asking us feedback about their state planning policies, because it hopefully opens the door for some constructive feedback. Clearly, this government is wanting to make it easier to build medium density properties and obviously change different zonings. Now, as a council, not long ago, we did something of a similar nature with the Lagana Town Centre. So, you know, if the state government wants to amend their own planning scheme, that's great, because our job's just to administer it. I don't know how these are going to work, and I think that that's highlighted in some of our submission, but, you know, we'll just deal with what we're dealt with. So I'll support the submission as it stands, and I look forward to seeing how the state makes it happen.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson.
Well, I just thank Councillor Mandicus for his positive views on, well, you've got to give credit, because our government agencies, they are looking at all the parts of the building cycle and planning of how to improve things. This one's about how do we get more housing. There's not a silver bullet. You need a range of things to change. So with this one, it's how do we develop land with higher density, and it's introducing probably new standards, such as how do we build apartments and inner residential, those sorts of things. Now, I'll be honest, I went through this and I'm very pleased the planners have put together this response, because they actually do understand it. And the feedback I've got is that it is about how do you get more density, but one of the comments is that in fact gives better design control. And so one of our frustrations is often you get this terrible design and you're sort of hamstrung by it. We've had the opportunity to make some suggestions, but we're also seeing the thinking behind it, that it's actually putting on clearer controls for good design. So I'm hoping that, yeah, that's what we see on our desks, better designs coming through for quality houses, rather than just squeezing them on and some poor person having to live there, which we know some of those subdivisions, or often they're strata title type developments. So yeah, commend this work. So thank you, planners.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Pigott?
I agree with the comments. My concern is, and I understand why we're doing this, housing crisis, we've got to improve our ability to increase the amount of houses on some blocks. But what concerns me, at what cost? We recently saw a plan the other day, and I won't refer to it specifically as where it was, where there was an infill behind a house, and I think the distance between the house and the boundary was about 1 metre. The deck was included as the green open space, so there was one car park, for a house that may have had 2 or 3 bedrooms. So what we're seeing is these infills, and all of a sudden there's cars parked all along the road, which is getting worse and worse. West Tamar Highway, even my street to a point. So I'm all for improving the ability for people to get into a house, but I'd hate to see the amenity or what we've traditionally seen as a house on a block of land with a bit of grass where the kids can play turn into this hodgepodge of no grass. The deck's included as the green grass, and you should have 2 cars, but we'll just make it 1. So where's that other car going to go? It's going to go on the road. And that's my concern. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but we'll just have to wait and see what comes through as a result of it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Manticas, will you close, please?
Oh, yes, and I'd just like to thank Councillor Ferguson for his encouragement of my positive attitude. It is appreciated. But when we talk about more housing, and I'm just going to touch on something that Councillor Shegog, Deputy Mayor, has said, you try telling somebody who's on a housing wait list or that's looking to purchase a property that, sorry, we couldn't build that property for you because there's no open space. They don't care, right? So at some point, something's got to give. The Australian dream of having a nice house with plenty of green open space is long gone. It's now incumbent on council to be reactive to higher density limits by making sure that our public open spaces are tickety-boo and fit for purpose. And so, it's policy like this that drives council to have to be responsive in making sure that we're providing public amenities within our municipality. And we've had a very strong focus as a council on this, and we sort of anticipated this a few years ago with our playground renewals and where we're investing into open spaces, but we can't dictate what must be included in every application, because the reality is you just can't get it. You go to inner city Melbourne, you've got medium dense apartments, but then you've got beautiful open outdoor spaces that contribute to the overall amenity or the setting of the suburb. So we have to be very responsive with wherever the government lands on what the reforms they're looking to put in place and where they put them in place, because we need to be mindful that our ability to try and stipulate some of the things that are currently in there will no longer be within our remit. So, with growth comes change. We can't keep everything the way it is going because, we get urban sprawl. We need to actually start being smarter about where we're locating strategic medium density developments, but we cannot have the expectation that there's going to be, plenty of setbacks and circulation space and green open space. It's just, it's gone. It's only reserved that those are luxury items now only afforded to the upper middle class. So, I'll support our submission. I hope the state gets this right. I hope they consult with us, but then also make available where they choose to designate these zones, more local government funding for public open spaces so that we can respond accordingly. So,
thank you for that very extensive report, Councillor Manticas. Councillor Ferguson. Oh, I beg your pardon, we've closed. We've closed. So now I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. We now come to item 11, which is corporate, and corporate 1 is to update to WTHRM 22.00 corporate credit card policy and guidelines. And the purpose of this report is to adopt an updated corporate credit card policy and guidelines. And the recommendation is that Council rescinds the existing corporate credit card policy and guidelines. It adopts the updated corporate credit card policy and guidelines as presented, effective 21 April 2026, updates the version number to 6.00 and approves a review date of April 2029. A mover, please. Councillor Manticas. A seconder, please. Councillor Lyons. Councillor Manticas.
thank you, Madam Mayor. And just before I get into my delivery or speak to the motion, I'll just say that this has come before audit panel and it's now back before council with what I consider to be some improvements. So this is about making sure that the nominated staff that are listed within this have appropriate access to credit cards and, an appropriate facility limit for each of those cards in a way that can be easily tracked and reconciled at the end of each month as well. This policy gives very clear scope and definitions and circumstances about how cards that are issued need to be used and reconciled as well. So this is yet again another example of where we've taken a existing policy of council, we've improved the policy and we make sure that it's fit for the current environment for which the council officers that are allocated a card need to work within. And it gives clarity as well. So I think, some of the things that have been updated are a few limits on a few card holders. And as we all know, the cost of everything's gone up significantly over the last few years. So we need to be responding appropriately to making sure that those limits are still appropriate, and that those people that hold council credit cards is very narrow, and that those positions are listed, which they are. So I'm quite happy to move this. As I've said, did come before audit panel. Audit panel recommended a number of changes, which we now see in front of us today. So I've got no concerns, but would happily answer any questions if anyone has one as well.
Councillor Lyons, second. Nothing.
I'm happy to support this document because I think we need to have a set process which delivers a certain outcome. And I think most things, except what I mentioned in workshop, I won't mention again. I think we've covered most of the things that I would have had concerns with.
Thank you. Councillor Lana.
I do have a question, even though I was at that audit panel meeting. Just the discretionary expense limit, which is on top of the transaction limit for the month. How does that work? Is that by oversight of the CEO? How is that triggered? That the discretionary increase in the set transaction limit for the month?
We're just checking it is set out in the definitions part. I don't want to say it off the top of my head and then get it wrong. Just going to allow our Director of Corporate and Community to grab that definition as we go. But my understanding, and I'll be corrected very quickly if I'm wrong, is in terms of authorisation, what was the previous card limits? It was $5,000. So then it's discretionary to that amount, which is the amount that we had before, and then anything over that should be getting an authorisation, a correct authorisation for spending. So the change in this was a previous one allowed for council officers to have top-ups done under certain circumstances, again with the right authority, but top-ups. The feedback from audit panel was they actually didn't want to see top-ups. They wanted to see a certain amount put against each officer, but we still wanted to retain what should be an amount that doesn't necessarily need authorisation within your financial delegation, but the top up, that next piece up, should have a level of oversight over the top of it.
CEO, through you, on page 435 of 525 of the agenda, item 3 in the footnotes, discretionary expense limit means the maximum value per occasion of work-related entertainment expenses that a role is permitted to purchase before approval from an authoriser is necessary.
So without looking at it, I managed to nail it. So that's good.
Yep. Through you, remember, it's defined in clause 8.2 of the policy. So it's outlined there.
Thanks, David. Are there any other questions or contributions? Then I'll ask Councillor Maticas to close.
No, nothing to add, except that it's important to note that councillors do not get issued credit cards, although there is a provision within this policy for the mayor, because previously I think there sometimes is a need that arises, but I think I note from what you've said previously, you don't have a card anyway.
No, I chose not to have a card, and if I do have any legitimate claims to make, I make them through the CEO, and I supply a report and a receipt. But I don't think I've ever done it. In all the time I've been on council, I don't think I've had any claims. So I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 7-0. Corporate number 11.2 is approval for recurring budget lines, and this report is provided to inform and seek approval from Council of current recurring funding arrangements that have been previously approved through the annual budget estimates, and that list is found on page 460. And the recommendation is that Council note the above mentioned information and approve the continuation of recurrent annual funding for the following organisations without a formal ongoing partnership agreement: West Tamar Land Care, $5,000, West Tamar Municipal Band, $5,000, Christmas with Friends, $2,500, Reptile Rescue, $1,000, and the Exeter Sheepdog Trials, $500. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Sheepdog. And a seconder, please. Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Sheepdog.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This is just an administration procedure to allow these organisations not to have to go to us every year to get their allocation. And I think that the ones that we've picked out, Land Care, the Municipal Band, the Christmas Reptile Rescue and Exeter Sheepdog Trials, are well proven, reliable organisations within our municipality that we give money to and that we should give ongoing support to without them having to come back to us. So I'm very happy that these organisations won't have to come back every year unless they require more funds, of course. But I don't think that's happened in the past, so I don't see that happening in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Nothing further to add, thank you. Nothing further.
Any other comments? Councillor Lana.
It's a question more than a comment. I was just looking at the existing arrangements, and there's one on the list. It's number 4 down, which says it's 1 year for 25-26 with option for further 2 years. Is that still the case?
If I may, through you, Madam Mayor, that's indeed correct. Visit Northern Tasmania funding will come back to Council next month for a decision on that option.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? There being none, I'll ask. Oh, I beg your pardon.
Councillor Lana.
Councillor Lana had closed because the mic's still on. So have you finished? Yeah.
Thank you.
Look, I'm supportive of these organisations. Let's not get me wrong on this. And the chances are, if they were to apply each and every year, I can't imagine a time where they'd ever be knocked back. But I am concerned about some lack of governance here in respect that we have an expectation that almost every other organisation within our municipality has to put in written applications. There's supporting matrices, but all of a sudden this motion's sort of like giving them a free pass to have to go through the administrative process each year. And I am concerned that, as the motion is presented, there's a lack of, I guess, oversight from council. And so whilst I can get behind having them as potential recurring funding, which is what this motion calls for, I would like to move an amendment that adds a clause that each and every financial year that each one of these organisations sees funding must provide a proper acquittal to the council. And I guess that's my amendment. So I'm either hoping with the support of the mover and the seconder that could become the substantive motion. Otherwise, happy to hopefully get another seconder and have it voted on.
If I may, Madam Mayor, can I just clarify the wording that you want to use? Just for the mover and the seconder. So it would be the motion, the recommendation as it stands now, with the addition of the words each financial year, each organisation is to submit a written acquittal of the funds.
Correct, of how they've used the funds. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that amendment?
As the mover, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to accept that amendment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. So that then becomes a substantive motion.
Thank you.
And so if I can just then finish speaking to my contribution, I think that provides the level of oversight to our ratepayers that gives them confidence that each year we will get a written acquittal showing how those funds have been spent and ensuring that they have been spent on the intended purpose for which they were given as well. And I think that that's the minimum benchmark that this council should aim for in situations like this. These are the organisations that have been listed are valuable organisations within our community who do outstanding work, but they shouldn't yet be immune to some basic governance processes. So I'm quite happy to support the motion now that it's been amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Councillor Shield wants to close.
No, other than Councillor Mannix was quite right, and it was a great addition to the recommendation. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. The next item on the agenda is we come into the community, and community one is Youth Advisory Council minutes from March 2026. And the purpose of this report is to provide the latest Youth Advisory Council meeting minutes for Council's information, found from pages 463 to 466. And the recommendation is that Council receives and notes the minutes as presented for the Youth Advisory Council meeting held on the 12th of March 2026. Will somebody please move? Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. And a seconder, please. Councillor Lyons. Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, thank you. This is just one of our processes of keeping council aware of what's going on in the community. So you're just happy to receive the notes of those of the youth council meeting.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lyons. Nothing further? Any further comments? There being none, Councillor Ferguson, nothing further in close. I put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 7-0. Community 2 is sponsorship application for the Launceston Chamber of Commerce Business Excellence Awards 2026. And the purpose of this report is for Council to give consideration to a sponsorship application from the Launceston Chamber of Commerce, which is seeking a category sponsor for its 2026 Business Excellence Awards. The report is found from page 467 to 490 of the agenda. Where's the recommendation? There it is, I beg your pardon. And the recommendation is that Council supports the Launceston Chamber of Commerce request by providing sponsorship funding of $5,000 plus GST in the 26-27 period to sponsor the award category of Exceptional Workplace and its 2026 Business Excellence Awards, and provides additional annual sponsorship funding to the Launceston Chamber of Commerce of $5,000 plus GST per year in 27-28 and 28-29 as sponsor of the award category Exceptional Workplace at its 27 and 28 Business Excellence Awards. May I please have a move? Thank you, Councillor Lyons. And a seconder, please, Councillor Ireland. Councillor Lyons.
Sorry, I congratulate the Chamber of Commerce on the publicity they got and the amount of feedback we got for businesses in the West Tamar. It was very well done and a great spread of awards around the north. I wasn't particularly supportive of the Chamber of Commerce, but I think recently they have really sort of extended what they previously have done, and I think they do provide an incentive for businesses. I look forward to when they one day give a gong for the best union in northern Tasmania. I think that would be a true indication of their impartiality. But I think they've done a great job, and I support the endorsement of the amount.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. You're showing your political colours.
Quite right.
Councillor Ireland.
Yes, thank you. Not only are we going to sponsor it for 1 year, we're going to do it for another couple of years after. So if we can lock in another 2 years at the same price, we're going to avoid any fuel surcharge on the sponsorship. And I noticed the category we're actually sponsoring is exceptional workplace, which is what West Tamar Council is. So it's a good category to be awarded. Good to see that a couple of the gongs went to the West Tamar last year, and I hope some more do. Looking forward
Thank
to
you.
it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Lana.
Um, so the statement is talking about requested sponsorship of 5,000 plus GST for 1 year, or 15,000 for 3 years, and yet the recommendation talks about additional annual sponsorship funding of 5,000. So it's really a 10,000 grant, and I'm not sure that it's core council business, so I'm not sure that I'll be supporting it.
Thank you,
Sorry,
Councillor Lana.
Madam Mayor, if I can just clarify, it's in two parts, Councillor Lana. So it's $5,000 for this year's awards, and then 5,000 for the following 2 years. So it is 3 years, total of $15,000. It was done that way to ensure that council had options as to whether they wanted to do 1 year or the full 3.
Sorry, just in reply, the issue was that there seems to be, if it was the 1 year option, there was an additional sponsorship for the business awards themselves, and it seems to me that the chamber represents businesses. Businesses would have membership. They get funding from that, and if council wanted to rock up to their functions, then they could pay the fee for that function. They also get those revenues of lots of people attending. So once again, I just believe personally, obviously the odd one out, that this isn't core council.
Thank you, Councillor Lana. Any other comments? Councillor Manticas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just from the outset, I'll say that I didn't support this last year. But over the last 12 months, I think I've seen some tangible outcomes and recognition for a number of outstanding West Tamar businesses. The sponsorship proposal is very clear. It shows the return that we get, the recognition, and the return on sponsorship, so to speak. And so I was a bit reticent last year, but I think over the last 12 months and from the last event, they've been able to at least instill enough confidence in me to support them this year. But I also have now reservations as well. I don't want to be entering into multi-year arrangements with an election around the corner because it's going to be binding on a particular new council. Not knowing the composition or the makeup, I'm happy to support them for 1 year, but I don't support them over a multi-year deal because I think that should be an issue that's dealt with by the new council because they might take very differing opinions to some of us sitting here around the table. So when I try and balance it, if the motion as is presented, I cannot support because I only support it for 1 year. So just making very clear, albeit that I think that they're worthy of another year, I'll be voting in the negative unless there is a substantial amendment to the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Manticas. Councillor Lyons is the mover of that motion. Oh, I beg your pardon, Councillor Shearer.
Not at all, not at all. Just to clear up a couple of things here, the reason that there was an extra 2 years, and correct me if I'm wrong, CEO, is that the initial ask from the chamber was for 3 years initially, and we only gave them 1. Because it was such a success, we then asked you to go back to them and see if they would accept 2 further years of 5 and 5, which was more in line with their original request, which you went and did. So that's why the extra 2 are in there. So I'm happy to support that because it has proven to be worth it. We tested it by only giving them 1 year. They came through with the goods. And I think that by showing the faith of going for 3 years gives them some certainty to be able to plan for those extra 2 years. I think it's part of council's core. We've just, gone through a process of building a business or attempting to build our businesses within the West Tamar, and the Chamber is certainly assisting us with doing that. So I think it's important that we support them back. So happy to support the recommendation as it stands.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Lyons, would you like to close?
Yes, I would. I think it's been proven to be a success, and I congratulate our CEO for tying it up for 3 years. Every organisation needs certainty, and I think what we're providing is certainty for 3 years, and it allows them to get on with the job. Most of our businesses are small businesses who need to have an organisation that supports them, give them publicity, publicity that they probably wouldn't be able to do on their own. I think the council over the years has supported lots of volunteer organisations and businesses, and I think this is just another, leg up for businesses in our municipality and, in fact, throughout northern Tasmania.
Thank you. I will now put it to the vote. All those in favour? In favour, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Lyons, Councillor Shegold, Councillor Hondal and Councillor Ireland. Against? Councillor Shegold and Councillor... Oh, I beg your pardon, Councillor Matikas and Councillor Lana.
I'm happy if you record that as a negative from Councillor Shegold too.
Getting a little bit tongue-twisted.
Madam Mayor, before you move on to the next matter, I will now excuse myself and ask our acting CEO to step in to play, as I have a declared potential conflict of interest.
Thank you. So for the record, we're being joined now by the Director of Community Assets, Dino DiPoli. So COM3, sponsorship application, Rosie's Reading and Imagination Library. And the purpose of this report is for Council to consider a sponsorship application for Rosie's Reading, which is seeking to expand the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library program into the West Tamar, the first council in Tasmania to be approached. And the report is found from pages 491 to 506. And the recommendation is that Council has 4 options to consider. Option 1, a 1-year local champion sponsor for $5,400. Option 2, a 1-year local hero sponsor, $10,800. Option 3, Wonder Gala title partner, $7,500. And the option 4 is a combination of Wonder Gala title partner and a 1-year local hero sponsor. May I please have a mover as to which option they wish Council to consider? Councillor Shegold, may I have a seconder, please?
Well, I better tell them what the option is before someone sticks up their hand. I would like to recommend option 4, which is a combination of Wonder Gala title partner and 1-year local hero sponsor.
Thank you, Councillor Shegold. A councillor to support that recommendation.
Sorry, has that?
Well, just a moment. I'm chairing the meeting. Are there no seconders for this motion? Can I second it?
You could, but then we'd be in strife because I couldn't run the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have to have a seconder?
Yeah.
You do,
Yes.
definitely?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry?
Yes.
Well, I'm certainly happy to hear it.
I would like to put up an option for options 1 and 3, which is the 5,400 and the 7,500.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll second that. If that's your motion, I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a mover for option 1 and option 3.
Yeah.
And it's moved by Councillor Ireland and it's seconded by Councillor Sheagle. Councillor Ireland.
Yes, I think maybe going for the top to start with is obviously not palatable to the rest of the council. The risk is that once you've gone to the top, you have to stay with it for the rest of the time. So by doing the gala, which I think is vital because it's going to be in the West Tamar, that's cool. And then starting off with the sponsor of 5,400. In the following year, we could stick at 5,400 or we could increase if we wanted to. But if we went for the highest one, we're really stuck there. So I think the slightly lower option of options 1 and 3 would be a good idea. It's a great project. I mean, basically, literacy equals skills, and skills equals dollars, and dollars equals good for the council. So that's how I read this whole thing. So I hope you'll support my option. Thank you.
Councillor Sheagle.
No, I'm happy to support that recommendation, Councillor Ireland. This project, we're very lucky. We're very lucky to be the first council to be offered this opportunity to support literacy within our community from 0 to 5 years of age. And we all know of how literacy is going, not just in our community, but in general across Australia. Tasmania has the worst, though, to be honest. So to support this opportunity and to be the leading partner to supply a book a month for free to children that register with the organisation, not council, with the organisation, will receive up to 60 books over the term of their involvement, 60 free books that they keep the entire time of this journey of learning. Now, it not only supports the children, but it also supports the parents. Now, we've come through a time where we've all had children, we've read to our children, but times have changed. These stupid tablets and phones have taken over parenting, and we've got to get back to some basics. It improves the social skills of the child as they grow. It improves the family cohesion because parents are reading to their children, all carers. It increases school involvement because kids want to go to school. It improves parents' skills because they're actually probably learning some literacy skills as they go along. It improves opportunities for the child as they grow. And as Councillor Ireland said, can give back to our community as that's delivered. And it's very important to note that even though there may be some parents or carers out there that cannot read to their children, this program actually assists and gives skills to the parent to be able to achieve that. I think that we are very, very lucky that we've got this. We can be the champions of this. The gala dinner will be lead as we were told in the presentation earlier. They need $50,000 to be raised at this gala dinner. We're giving them the opportunity for the gala dinner, but plus 5,500, which I think is quite reasonable in the circumstances. So they need to raise another 45. As soon as they get that $50,000, they'll be able to start sending out books the next day to those children that have registered. And I think that's a most delightful thing that we can sit here in good conscience and know that that money is going to be able to provide for a child's education and improvement in their literacy skills. So I say let's go, and I hope that other local government areas take it on as the proof and the success of this program comes back to fruition. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sheagle. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Lana.
Thank you. I have a book here written by someone called Hannah Eichler. Hannah Anna, she calls herself Hannah Anna Super Nana. She's an expert in early child development, and she's written this book, The Golden Key to Brilliancy, and it's just beautiful. So some of the titles are why it is important to engage more than one sense organ, not just the visual, obviously on the tablet, which is distracting our children. Why it is important that every experience has relevance and meaning. So not a book with a giraffe that's doing silly antics in the story, and why toys and stories need to reflect reality truthfully, and another one, why considering the age of children and following their lead ensures the experiences are appropriate. So the imagination of the child is just something to behold. Just a little bit more, I won't hold you long. So children, as their little brains develop, need to make connections, not only visually, but with their whole bodies, really. So information can then be ordered like in a filing cabinet. So new books and toys from library, the brain is left with not more but less for the young child. So this is on the basis of extensive brain research. To a great extent, the age of a child determines what has relevance and meaning. So I noticed that one of the books that was illustrated in our material here was one of the Roald Dahl books, and we're talking under age 5 here. Those, just the illustrations alone, let alone sort of the sentiment of the silly characters in those books, is not a great way to develop the brain of the child. So I would say that school, the education department, is the place when the child is ready, ideally from the age of 6. But of course, that nurturing relationship with the parent is so important. Let's just take them out in nature. That's the best remedy. And I'll say again, this isn't core council business. And I note that current sponsors are education related, but also health department related. Apparently, there's the sharing of books in the maternity wards, I think. I won't be supporting this.
Any other comments? Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, I think there's very little risk here being an early adopter. and
Exactly.
So I agree we're on the right track here. What's council business? Well, you just got to get some things done. You have to partner with our community, and so we've got these guys have got a volunteer board. Most of us are here, and we're remunerated to some degree. They run a volunteer board for what? Books for kids. So it's very aware of our ratepayer monies. This is a small investment. Children in our area will benefit from it. We might even help some other kids from around the area too. Not a bad idea. That's how local government works, really. We should be helping our neighbours. So happy to support this. And it's I believe it's once they enter school age, that's when they're near a library and they can get their own books out. So this is a great initiative and I support it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Manticas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And look, might I just congratulate Rick Martin on a wonderful presentation earlier today. If for nothing else, what this program will do will give accessibility to some families who might not otherwise be able to afford traditional means of going out and purchasing books. So this is about building a library for young people that they get every month a new book, and at the end of the program, they've got 60 books. Coming from a fortunate or a privileged position, I don't have to think about what it costs for a book at the local bookshop, but there are a lot of families out there that do. And at the moment, they're so busy putting food on the table or trying to keep the gas or the power on that this program could be life-changing to them. The excitement of a child receiving a book that's theirs, that they get to read in their own time, knowing that there's another one coming and that's theirs. So we've got a real opportunity to partner with a wonderful organisation that has its own independent book selection committee. I was doing some research on as well. So I'm not here to determine what content they choose because I'm not a professional book reader or a selector. I'm here to support an organisation that's seeking seed funding, support that by way of minimal first-year sponsorship, but promoting and supporting their gala dinner, which will be held here in the West Tamar. I'm assuming as future years go on, and they pick up other municipalities to be part of this program, that they'll hold their gala dinners elsewhere. So You know, this is sometimes about local government being able to help people up, you know, give them a starting point that they might not have the opportunity to have. We look at where we contribute and we support other organisations in varying endeavours. You know, this is just another feather in the cap, and one that I can certainly get behind. As a person that's got multiple young children within my family, getting them outside is a great idea. But God, I'd love it if they read more books too. So I'm going to be supporting this wholeheartedly with option 1 and 3, and I think it's a very sensible motion that's been put forward by Councillor Ireland and a good compromise. So thank you. I'm very happy to support this.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Well, before I ask to close, Councillor Lana, I'm sorry I have to disagree with you with your perspective on this. For every author of the book that you've just quoted, there are probably 4 or 5 that would challenge that, because we know that the sooner you start to read to a child, the sooner their senses start to activate. They start to see pictures in their own minds without actually just through words. And I can only commend Rick Martin for coming to council to ask for support of this. And I'm really proud that the majority of the councils around the table will support this. I think it's an invaluable thing. It breaks my heart when I go to a doctor's surgery and a mum with a little toddler comes in, and the first thing she does is, and there's a box of toys and shelves of books in the reception area, and she takes out her iPad and thrusts it in a little 3-year-old's lap. I'd rather see that child looking through a book. And, you know, I'm sorry you're not Roald Dahl. I'm a great fan of his, as I am a great fan of the many fantastic children's authors that are Australian and that are internationally renowned. So without further ado, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Oh, well, beg your pardon. I got a bit carried away there.
It's all right.
Councillor Ireland.
It's all right. Nothing more apart from just to reflect that if this had been brought in before Councillor Ferguson started a family, he'd have 600 books. So I'm just wondering if he gets a bookcase thrown in.
I am sure that Councillor Ferguson has a fantastic collection of books for his children. Without further ado, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? For Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Matikas, Councillor Lyons, Councillor Shegog, Councillor Holmdale and Councillor Ireland, and against Councillor Lana. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is community assets, and there is nothing in that category. There is also nothing in people, culture and safety. There are no petitions. So item 16 is notice of motion, and the item is Councillor Shegog's motion regarding, repair of the West Tamar Highway, and the purpose of this report is to provide council with advice in relation to the motion received on notice from Deputy Mayor Councillor Rick Shegog in accordance with Section 65 of the Local Government Act 1993. And his motion, I'll get you to read that rather than me, because you'll just be repeating. So, Councillor Matikas, your motion.
No, Shegog.
Shegog.
That's okay. The Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to write to the General Manager of Transport, Delivery and Assets at the Department of State Growth, requesting that they, as a matter of priority, 1, investigate the condition of the road surface of the West Tamar Highway at the following locations. A, between Valley Road and Spring Hill, south of Beaconsfield, and B, between Upper McEwen's Road and Muddy Creek, and also 1C, and the Frankfurt Highway between Exeter and the West Tamar Council boundary. 2, provide a comprehensive report to West Tamar Council on the condition of those sections of road, outlining the scope of works to be carried out in order to rectify the road to bring it to a satisfactory condition, including a proposed timeline. And 3, undertake the works required to complete the repairs required to bring the road surface up to a satisfactory and safe standard.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Lana. Councillor Shegog.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, there's been a lot of talk on social media activity in relation to the highway over some time. And as we all know, most of us drive that section of road. Councillor Manicus drives all the way to Greens Beach, so he's travelled that section of road many times. I've highlighted 3 sections, one south of Beaconsfield, which if you watch a truck or a bus drive through there, then you watch the trailer of the truck, it actually veers across to the left and right-hand side of the road due to the nature of the road surface. It's been highlighted to the state growth before, and we haven't had any result. The second is from Upper McEwen's Road to Muddy Creek, and those people that travel, and some of the gallery would have travelled that road today, is actually disgusting and is getting worse. And the interesting thing is, back in 2025, this section was highlighted to the state growth, and they said paving, construction and maintenance in this area is challenging due to the underlying geotechnical conditions. The Department of State Growth is aware of the issues, and our staff and contractors regularly inspect the area for any signs of movement that have impacted the road surface. Or if you can't tell me that anyone has been down there and can't see that there is movement that has not impacted the road surface, then I don't know what to say. It's an awful piece of road. It's uncontrollable. When Mother drives a Swift down there, she's luckily not thrown off the road. Although I should tell her to slow down, but that's beside the point. But there are a number of things. And the Frankfurt Highway, out of Exeter, near the Glengarry shop, and other areas of the Frankfurt, that's a heavy vehicle route and a tourist route. You know, and tourists getting off the Spirit and coming through the Frankfurt Highway must wonder what they're driving into. That's their first sign of Tasmania, and it's pretty woeful. So I implore other councils to support this for once and truly getting a decision from state growth as to what they're going to do about those 3 sections or areas of roadway on the West Tamar Highway and the Frankfurt Highway. It's a very important matter.
Thank you, Councillor Shegog. Councillor Lana.
I certainly concur with Councillor Shegog's explanation of this dire need, and in particular, I would say that the Frankfurt Highway, as you say, with all that heavy traffic, trouble is people really speed along there because it's a bit of a distance and they want to get home, whatever it is. But so hopefully improving the surface won't increase that speed. But can I just ask, so I'll certainly be supporting the motion. Can I just ask while I'm in support, at what stage has the Transport Department of State Growth been approached? How many years have you been asking?
Well, it's up to you.
Well, I'm just thinking about the information when we had the West Tamar Highway.
For sure, absolutely.
For those in the gallery, we did have a West Tamar Highway Safety Committee that Council instigated, must be about 14 or 15 years ago. And as a result of that council, we worked very closely. And I have to thank sincerely Michael Polly, who was then the Speaker of the House, for his support of this council's efforts to try and improve the West Tamar Highway. And at that stage, the only way that we were getting any kind of improvements was through the government grants that were allocated to the issues on the highway. And Councillor Shegog's right about the section up Muddy Creek Hill. The real problem there is that, and I do understand why state growth has said that that road can only be continually on a maintenance roster because there is very, very bad landslip in that area. And they have undertaken to come back every time it's necessary to fix that road. I don't know if we as a council have been active to request that maintenance, but I agree with the Deputy Mayor. I've actually seen a motorbike take off when he hit one of those bumps, just a little bit up in the air. So, and I'm not being, frivolous, but that's the situation with the West Tamar Highway, that we are really reliant on the government. I think that we did kick some really good goals when we had that committee, because we got a lot of money in a very short period of time. Sadly, Michael Polly retired from politics, and we haven't been able to replace him with anybody else that is a hero for our council. So that's just explaining that. So, Councillor Lana, you've spoken. You've spoken. Councillor, who wants to speak next? Councillor Manticas. Councillor Manticas.
Look, just briefly, I think it's easy to support motions like this because it's about continuing advocacy for improved outcomes for roads that we don't necessarily manage, but have a massive impact on the people that live within our municipality as well. You know, we often cop a lot of criticism as council with regards to the 3 roads that are listed, and I don't think people realise that these are actually state-controlled and managed roads. And so by highlighting motions like this from an advocacy perspective, it's also about getting an understanding as to where state government is, and if they've got any planned capital infrastructure spends on these stretches. This council, you know, obviously runs on a limited budget, and we've got enough of a headache just trying to deal with obviously the over 472 kilometres worth of roads within our municipality. And so we couldn't take over the West Tamar Highway even if we wanted to. We just don't have the manpower, the people, or the budget. So I think it's really important. I'm looking most forward to understanding the comprehensive report, hoping that State Growth engage and actually provide us with a report and some timelines so that we can go back to our community and continue to advocate for these. These are crucial parts of the highway. They're busy junction centres, or they're further north or they're further south coming into Lagana. So I'm happy to support these. Thank you for bringing it to our council's attention. And from an advocacy perspective, this is what we should be doing more often to keep engaged with state growth. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Manticas. Any other comments? There being none, Councillor Shepherd.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and thanks to Council Manicus and Lana for your words. And giving some kudos to the West Ham Highway Committee, Madam Mayor, that you chaired for many a year. There were some good results from that. And I have to sort of also mention State Growth have just completed the Batman Highway and have done a good job. So I'm not completely banging them over the head. They deserve credit where credit's due. We just need it to be done in some of the other locations. And that location at McEwen's Road, they did about 10 years ago. They reconstructed the whole road and it's gone back to nearly exactly how it was before they started. And we both know there's landslip and water issues with that section of road. So they need to come up with a plan to actually better address it so it doesn't happen again. But anyway, I've said enough, so thanks for your support.
So the other thing that we didn't mention that we all know is that the West Tamar Highway carries 15 from Greens Beach to Launceston, something like 15,000 vehicle movements a day, 7,500 movements in each direction. And that's more traffic. And this is a statistic of, I think, about 2020. That is more than the vehicles that go through Campbelltown. So I think there's every justification for this road to get the attention it deserves. Thank you, Councillor Shegog. I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. 16.2 is motions without notice. At the moment, there are none listed. Thank you, Councillor.
Mine is a motion on notice for discussion at the next meeting. So a notice of motion that the Lagana Town Centre and Township Structure Plan be amended by identifying the land fronting the West Tamar Highway from Acropolis Drive to Bridgenorth Road as general business.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons, and that will come to Council for consideration in May. If there are no other motions without notice, we go. Oh, I beg your pardon, Councillor Plano.
without notice is that Council authorise the CEO to investigate the steps required to acquire the first 100 metres of Gatenby's Road from the A. Farrell estate and report back to Council at its June workshop. The rationale for this motion is that ratepayers of Gatenby's Road have received little council support to address ongoing stormwater erosion affecting their sole access road. Flooding and potholes at the Gravelly Beach Road junction are worsening conditions. Urgent drainage works are required along the first 100 metres. Road and footpath maintenance.
Point of order. We're going into the substantive part of the motion, but without a seconder.
So, yes, I'm sorry, I was just conversing with Deputy Mayor. So will somebody please second the motion that's been moved by Councillor Lana?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor. And just while I've got you, I'll move a procedural motion under Rule 24(1)(e) that we now move this part of the open council meeting into a closed session for the duration of this motion.
Thank you. So the motion now will go into the closed section.
We're closing the meeting now to discuss
so
this.
We need to vote on that. All those in favour of this becoming a confidential issue?
Perfect.
6-1, voting for.
Need to ask whether she's voting first.
Are you voting for or against it moving into?
Sorry, not that it move into closed session.
You're voting against it moving into closed session.
That's correct.
Thank you very much. So the councillors that moved for it to go into closed session are Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Manticas, Councillor Lyons, Councillor Schickel, Councillor Hondal and Councillor Ireland, and against is Councillor Lana.
Madam Mayor, if you can just give us a minute, we will ask the members of the public to leave and turn off the live stream.
you should be thanking me, Councillor Lana. I moved it to closed meeting.
We now go. Are we on?
Yes, we're good to go.
Okay. We now go to item 17 of the council papers, which is councillors' questions. And the questions are found from page 513 to 516 with the responses. And 17.2 is councillor questions without notice. And I'll start with councillor Ferguson.
Yes, thank you. I've just got some that have come through youth advisory things through, and also Councillor Allen sent these to me. I'll forward them on at some point, but just to read them out, they'll be on notice. So, bus stop opposite Joe's on the West Tamar Highway, Riverside. That's been identified. They really need a seat and shelter. It's being used by children, so the bus stop opposite Joe's Takeaway.
Where is Joe's?
Oh, the Riverside one.
Oh, just on the corner here. Right.
And these are not criticisms; they're just things that the group have brought to council's attention. So, Tail Race Park, so the basketball court, they believe needs repaving, and they've also put forward that, hey, is there any potential for that being a full court at Tail Race? You know, it's got the half court and then the grass. Yep. And bike track, Gravelly Beach, they've highlighted that they think that would be good for casual riders. So I'll get more information on that, but it's a question about whether that's could be put into our planning. And the underpass.
Can I just ask, is that a joint walking, riding path that we've just built?
No, I need to check, Jeff. Sorry. It just talked about the Gravelly Beach bike track. They think they want it. That also needs to be able to accommodate casual riders. So I'll need to check that one. Apologies. Okay. The underpass repainting is still waiting to be begun.
That's the Riverside one, just
yes. And so and there was about improvements. So we're just wondering if we get an update through the YAC council officer was putting together some sort of working group with the school and us. And the footpath outside the Opa Hotel in Beaconsfield is very uneven, needing repairs. So they've received a complaint from someone in a wheelchair. So I'll go back to them and talk about Snap, Send, Solve. And so, but they're the questions from Councillor Allen and Yak.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. We'll take all of those on notice with the exception of the bike track one. If you can come back with more information on that, and then we can answer that into the future.
Thank you. Councillor Maticas.
One of the questions that I'd planned to ask today was regards to the Kelso toilet block, but I see that we've published that it's now open for official business.
It was open today.
Whatever that means. Maybe we should have a ceremony, Madam Mayor, where...
No, but we have had a lot of Kelso residents very patiently waiting for the opening of that toilet. Yes. So I'm pleased we were able to advise them that it's now active.
With great relief, as Councillor Lyons says.
Anything else, Councillor Maticas?
There is. Whilst staying focused on Kelso, it's been raised that the drain of the stormwater drain that goes out into the beach is still sort of blocked and clogged. And I wasn't too sure. I remember we were going to liaise somewhere with Parks and Wildlife, I thought.
We had done some cleanup of that. So if I can take that one on notice, we'll have a look and see where that's up to.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Councillor Lyons.
We've had a couple of letters that seem to have gone to all councillors and council managers about various things. I'm presuming that goes on to works list, or at least to Dino for some sort of grading or
If the request comes through to the West Tamar Council generic address or to me directly, then yes. Sometimes, however, it just goes to councillors and it doesn't make its way back.
There was one today which I'm presuming went to everyone. My computer died, so I can't.
I would suggest, Councillor Lyons, don't presume. Please send it through, and then we can make sure, because sometimes they only go to councillors, and if operational staff don't see them, then we can't action them.
I think that particular matter is actually in action at the moment. Anything else, Councillor Lyons? Thank you, Councillor Shegot.
No, we've had some technical difficulties today. That's why the minutes aren't up on the screen as well, because we've had a similar issue. We will get it addressed as soon as possible after the meeting.
Councillor Shegot.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of things. Probably more so, have we commenced the Riverside Pool investigations, Dino, in relation to
Lining.
the suitability of the lining, re the infrastructure under the pool?
I'll take that one on notice, Councillor Shegot.
Okay.
We have indeed started a lot of the preliminary work. I'm not sure whether the actual investigation has occurred, but there is work happening in that space. But we'll come back with a more fulsome answer for you.
Thank you. There's been, sorry, that's 3 to go, unless I make one up on the way. There's been a lot of social chatter, and I think it's worthy for a discussion at workshop, Madam Mayor, in relation to a dog park or a better dog park in Lagana. I think the Tanner Drive has outlived its purpose as far as the number of persons now using the dog park. And I think that, like when we've been talking about dog parks and other locations, Tanner Drive's always sort of one that sort of gets a bit left off the list. It does a bit, yeah. So I think it's important to either have Tanner Drive in another location, maybe on the ground that's not being used near the school. I'm just throwing it out there, so please don't take it on board, people sitting in the gallery, that's where it's going to be. But I was wondering if we could identify somewhere within the local area that could possibly just lend itself to another dog park or an interim dog park until we do something else. I know Councillor Manicus has mentioned before utilising that block of land on the corner of Borman Drive and Freshwater Point Road, which was just green open space, and I think we put a fence up there to stop the geese going over there and defecating all over.
We can certainly have a look at it. What I would not like to see happen is Tanner Drive no longer be a dog park. We've just invested so that it meets the minimum standards. So there has been, in my view, a significant capital investment into there and getting
fine.
water
If we
organised.
put another smaller one or something at a different location,
What about at the orchards? The new
Certainly happy to
possibly.
list it for discussion.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So we'll have a conversation between our community assets team and our planning municipal inspectors, and we'll come back with a workshop item about possible options.
That's great, thank you. Can I confirm, I heard on the grapevine that the new pedestrian crossing in Exeter has already been damaged?
I can confirm that. It was both, no, both of the, there's a refuge for pedestrians, and then there's another traffic calming down near Shakers. It's not a crossing, but both sides of the where the pedestrians go across have been belted by a car, and I've been taking special attention of the usage of that. I have not seen one person crossing across to that refuge and then continuing over to the cafe. So, but yes, they have been damaged. Both of them are, instead of being like that, they're like that.
Yeah, because I did notice when I was down there, when they were still intact, they actually realigned the road. So you actually had to drive around it. So that, anyhow, I just wanted to confirm that. So what's the next step with that particular location as far as the pedestrian crossings and we highlighting that danger?
As I understand it, the DSG are continuing to take feedback because this is in its trial stage. Very happy for us to reach out to DSG and see at what point they might come back to council for some feedback or a briefing.
Right.
I think that would be useful, particularly in, I mean, I think 3 people stopped me on the road when was it? What's today? Last Friday, 3 people between the cafe and the post office to say, have you seen
The
signs that have been damaged? So
it's not a great
I
pedestrian
think
refuge.
it's probably appropriate to ask how long this trial period is going to last as well.
I think it was 12 months.
It was.
So
Yeah.
I think probably the best way to do it, given DSG are in charge of this particular issue, is to get them to come back and talk to you.
What would they have been up for? 3 weeks? A month at most? Probably. At the most.
Beryl, it'd be about 3 weeks, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was about 3 weeks. I think
Yeah.
it was the end of March.
Yeah.
Yes.
So end of March is that last week in March, I think is when they went.
Okay. I think it's worth a follow-up,
Yeah.
to be honest, Kristen. No, yeah. Anyway, my last one, Madam Mayor, and quickly, is I've also had some residents from Riverside inquiring about the SAP in their area as far as where we're at as far as getting to a point where we're coming back to council to discuss where we can lift SAPs and
I'll take that one on notice.
thank you. The SAPs on those very, when we went through the West Hamers strategy of growth, the growth strategy, and there were certain areas.
Special
Area plan.
areas.
Special area plan. Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Island, nothing. Councillor Lana?
Thank you. My question number 1: how many annual man hours, looking at me, or FTEs are dedicated to maintenance of Riverside's Windsor Park gardens and sports grounds? And how can a proposed extra 1.7% increase in rates for distant ratepayers living outside Riverside and Lagana specifically to fulfil this maintenance cost be justified when the facility offers them no direct benefit?
The first part of your question I'll take on notice. The second part, there's been absolutely no decision about a 1.7% rate increase going anywhere outside of, if you're talking about the Windsor Special Levy.
Yeah.
The council is reviewing a number of different things that, I remind you, Councillor Lana, that is confidential briefings that are occurring. No decisions have been made.
Right.
And that should not be discussed in an open council setting.
I apologise.
Thank you.
And just point of order, just a
Yes.
comment. That was introduced as an area of discussion in our budget deliberations. That's all.
Yes, that's correct.
That's right. Okay, if there are no further questions.
I have some more questions, please. Residents have advised that a targeted community consultation development options for Blackwall letter dated 4th of September 25 was sent only to selected property owners, despite objections from others, particularly those opposing residential intensification, who did not receive it. The letter stated it was, quote, part of our commitment to collaborative and transparent planning, cites the need to acquire a 5 metre by 183 metre land strip with an appropriate easement or right-of-way across either 36 Anniers Road or 38 Anniers Road without informing those property owners. The letter claims 3 potential development options for land in the Blackwall area were developed following the consultation on the draft Exeter and Structure Plan, even though 40 of the 44 original survey responses opposed such development. My question: how can Council claim transparency and accountability, which was in the letter, when community feedback overwhelmingly opposed these proposals, mainly due to respect for place character and inadequate sewage infrastructure?
Councillor Lana, I'm assuming you're talking about the letters that were in relation to the draft Exeter Structure Plan, and that was a further piece of targeted consultation that went out in relation to that. Again, the Exeter Structure Plan has not yet been finalised, so I don't think that it's fair to characterise that decisions have been made because that plan has not yet been endorsed by Council. It was seeking specific feedback from specific landowners who may have been impacted by a decision that was in the draft Exeter Structure Plan. So no final decision has been made by Council in relation to that.
Thank you for that clarification. My concern was that the particular landowners who were directly affected by the contents of the letter were not part of that further consultation.
Okay. Thank you. Is that all, Councillor Lana?
I may as well go in for a penny, in for a pound. Question 3. The cost of improving pedestrian and driver safety on the section of road from Beach Road intersection to the Gravelly Beach Swim Centre has been broadly estimated at $300,000. 2 recent vehicle crashes into roadside fences highlight long-standing safety concerns raised by local residents. My question, when will Council provide a detailed breakdown of this estimate, which was promised for last workshop, before finalising priorities for this year's capital budget, or otherwise give the community clear assurance that these works may be addressed in the near future?
Oh, I beg your pardon. That is still an issue that it was discussed in workshop, and it's not appropriate to bring matters discussed in workshop into the public forum until Council's made a decision on the particular issue. So with that...
Right. My question was that last time I asked a similar question, the details were to be brought before this month's workshop, which didn't occur.
Well, I mean, it was a pretty full-on workshop this month, so I'm sure in due course we will get around to it. Thank you. So that's the end of questions, councillor questions without notice. Item 17.3 is responses to questions on notice from councillors from the 17th of March council meeting, and they are on page 518 to page 521. That is the last item on the agenda. So item 18 is to go into closed meeting, so that pursuant to Regulation 17.1 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2025, Council closes the meeting to the public at 4:15 p.m. For the following items as listed in the agenda, and moved by Councillor Lyons and seconded by Councillor Manticas. If there are no comments, I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you very much to everybody. And are we on?
We're good?
Okay, so item 20 of the council agenda is closure, and there being no further business, the meeting closed at 5:09 p.m.